Okay, right. I feel really honoured to be asked actually to stand here, since I'm just a research master's student and all the other people that are speaking are all like doctors and professors, and I don't feel that I'm really that qualified to speak about stuff like this. But anyway, I've had a journey to get here just like everybody else has. So this is my journey, and I put together a stupid slide actually. If you want to, okay, could you? Right, so it started off as me doing paleontology. Actually, it was way before that, when I was about 4 or 5, and I loved like nature stuff, and I used to watch David Attenborough, and he was like my inspiration, and what I always wanted to do. Then it took me a while to get where I wanted to go, and actually I went to university as a single parent. I moved away from family and friends about 150 miles away from where I lived. Even though people said to me, you can't go to university as a single parent with a 6-7-year-old child and do that by yourself, you know, but I was determined that that was what I wanted to do since ever since I was about 4 or 5. I always wanted to be like David Attenborough or something like that. And so I did my paleobiology and evolution, actually it was, at Portsmouth Uni, and then I went on. I didn't quite get the result I wanted. I was disheartened, and I tried really hard to get a job in paleontology, but you know, it wasn't easy. I'm a mature student as well, you know, trying to get a job with a child who by that time was about 8 or 9, or no, probably about 10, wasn't easy. So my mum said to me, why don't you train as a teacher? So I did my PGCE and then ended up falling into teaching for about 5 years. But I didn't enjoy it because it wasn't really what I wanted to do. It wasn't challenging enough for me, and I wanted to be able to sort of be discovering things and telling people about things that I had been involved in and stuff like that. So I managed finally to get back into geosciences, and that was geoenvironmental engineering, and I'm up there at the top on the side, really dirty, all covered in stuff, like logging a trench, and I did that for about 2 years. I worked and did highway work and logging soil and rock and chalk and things like that. And then I was really lucky and fortunate to get the opportunity to work in Hong Kong. So I went to Hong Kong, and you can see my mapping. I got the opportunity to work in landslide investigation. So I went out, and I used to have to identify all the slopes in Hong Kong that might be bad, because in the 80s and 90s lots of people moved over there, and they temporarily from the mainland China, and they used to build their houses right in drainage lines, and of course when the rainy seasons came, they would end up all getting washed out, and quite a lot of people got killed. So they set up a landslide investigation department in Hong Kong, and I was working in a company that worked for them, and we went around all these different slopes, and we had to check to see whether they were stable and what we recommended the government do about them. And so that was there. And then up here you can see me doing NTHS, which is natural terrain hazard studies. So going out, and that's actually a landslide, got hidden, sorry, which was one of the longest ones they had, went right down to Shekpik Reservoir. And we, in one of the companies I was working in, we actually walked up that landslide scar, which was really, I can't remember how long it was, but it was really a long one. And anyway, then I moved on, and I did other work. I was in a construction company, and part of my job was working on this huge construction site in Hong Kong, which was adjacent to the Hong Kong harbour. I had to do geotechnical engineering and geological profiling of the whole site, because it was built all around lots and lots of skyscrapers and major roads and police headquarters and everything, and the harbour was on another side. And it was actually for a new high-speed rail terminus station that was going all the way from Hong Kong right into mainland China, right across Hong Kong, a bit like our HS2 and stuff like that. And we had to have the terminus was built inside what they call a cofferdam, which is a big concrete wall that surrounds it to stop the water getting in. And it was my job, along with a couple of other people, to monitor that and make sure that it was stable and the health and safety of the people inside and outside and the buildings and the roads didn't all like go wrong. And on top of that, because we were building and excavating from the ground surface down 4 stories, so the whole site was split into 2, what they called a joint venture. So our side was doing top-down excavation and construction. The other side decided to excavate all the way down, and then they were going to build theirs up the other side. So that was a bit of a conflict. But as we did 1 story down, we then had to construct and then build another one, construct, and I had to make sure that all the things that we had to do along the way fit all the stuff, because the Hong Kong government, they were actually monitoring everything, and we had to. So part of my job was also to go down inside a tunnel, because they were also involved in making a new underground line that ran. So this was 34 meters below ground level, and it was really tiny inside. You can just see down here, they were right next to a underground line here, sorry, this side. So one side of this small shaft, this was a ventilation shaft it was going to be, but they had to drill and split the rock. On this side they could detonate, but because this was 1 meter through the wall, they couldn't do that on that side. So I was learning to map the rock down inside the tunnel so that I could do that on the construction site that I was on. However, before I got to do that, I then met my husband and decided that I wanted to move to Los Angeles, because I'd kind of had enough of Hong Kong. So I then kind of, I was in Hong Kong for about 3.5 years. So I stayed there for quite a long time and did lots of stuff. Oh, by the way, I meant to say this was a big tunnel boring machine that I had the opportunity to see coming through. And if you look, these are the people here, you can see how massive that actually is, and that was quite an experience to have the chance to see that. Anyway, so back to Los Angeles. I went over to Los Angeles because that's where my husband was living, boyfriend at the time. And when I went over there, I had always been yearning, since I'd been in Hong Kong, to get back to paleontology, but the Hong Kong doesn't really have any fossils, and what they do have are protected, and there's only a small amount. So I just thought to myself, that's never going to happen. And I had been thinking about doing my master's in engineering geology because I was doing all this, and I'd been working towards my chartership as well, so that I could get my career better. Anyway, I kind of put that to the side when I went to Los Angeles, and I suddenly remembered that Los Angeles was famous for the La Brea tar pits, which I then contacted them when I knew I was going to go over there and said to them, could I do voluntary work? So I had the opportunity to work on an active excavation project at the Page Museum, La Brea tar pits. It's really hard to see it, sorry, I tried to make it expand out, it didn't. That's all the bones of things like mastodons and bisons and some birds and rodents and stuff like that. And in here is a tiny little model of a saber-toothed cat, because they also had those there as well. And I was lucky to uncover things like the claws and teeth and some of the bones, and it was a really great experience. But it made me really, really miss paleontology, and I was desperate to get back. And whilst I was there, I also had the opportunity to assist at the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology, which is a massive paleo conference. And it was at Los Angeles the very year that I was there. So they were looking for people to assist, and I never thought they would accept it, but I said, would you mind? And so I got to go along, and I saw all these lectures for free from people, and that was really great experience. And here I am in my lovely kind of plastic suit, because when the conference was going to be held at the Page Museum, they were going to be cleaning out some of the project, and that was like all fluid kind of asphalt, and we had to have this protective gear. Anyway, I haven't really talked about what I was supposed to talk about, sorry. Do you want to click on? So this is just my last one. So now I'm at doing my research masters, and that's on bone borings by beetles. And I just wanted to say the thank you. But before I just finish up, why did I get into it? I wrote all these notes, sorry, I completely went off track. It was hard, actually, as a mature woman, single parent, getting into the field. But the one thing that kept me going, I think, is that probably perseverance. I'm quite stubborn, I think. I didn't used to think I was, but I think I must be. I think I must be, because I kept on and kept on sort of saying, no, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And now I look back and I think, actually, you know, now I'm sort of too old to kind of give up. So I have to keep going, because I can't, what else can I do? I haven't got anything else to do, really. I feel like, you know, but, you know, my answer to people, younger people out there is never give up, and keep going forward if it's what you really want to do. If it's your dream, keep doing it. I've had some awful things said to me. Somebody, one person said to me, oh, actually, you know, maybe I can leave that for the questions and let somebody else talk now. Yeah. So that's that.